across the pond. So it's been a fairly expensive week for me this week. On top of dropping 80 pounds on an air purifier, I've had a lot of other expenses too. For example, watching The Men Who Stare at Goats. That's not to say I actually went out and watched guys stare at goats. No, it's a new movie with George Clooney and Ewan McGregor, and I suggest you check it out. On top of that, I had a night out with the Canadians, which can get expensive sometimes. Not to mention having to replace my cell phone because I accidentally woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and stepped on the damn thing. And then, there's Christmas shopping. See, Americans, those silly, silly people, are under the impression that Christmas starts early in their country. Lo and behold, it starts even earlier in Britain. I mean, seriously, the day right after Halloween. Bam! Lights go up. And it could be just a Nottingham thing. But, to be honest, when I went to the mall to buy my new phone, I saw all the Christmas lights, and I saw the people with shopping bags, and I caved. I could probably draw some sort of cynical moral about the consumerism of Christmas or something from this whole experience, but I'm not going to. I think I'd rather twirl my mustache and make it all curly than rag on the commercialization of Christmas. You know what I think, though? And this is a little bit more interesting than Christmas commercialization. I think there's a conspiracy against Jim Henson and his beloved creations. You say you want evidence? Well, just this week, after I put up a video about how there is no more Sesame Street in Britain, a Massachusetts high school has banned the word meep. What, you mean meep meep? Like the Roadrunner? No, fool! I mean meep! As in Beaker from the Muppets. Principal Thomas Murray of Danvers High School banned the word meep after several students used it to disrupt class. Obviously, Mr. Murray has never seen The Breakfast Club. Because I think if there's one lesson that Judd Nelson taught us in The Breakfast Club, it's that no matter how many words or actions you ban or disallow students from doing, if they're willful enough and witty enough, they can continue to disrupt class. And this is why I think that there's a conspiracy against Jim Henson. Any adult that employs logic, as I assume most high school principals are, would know that banning one word from a student's vocabulary isn't going to keep that student from disrupting class. Therefore, I assume there's a conspiracy against Jim Henson. And so, I leave you with another interesting installment of Limey News for American Chaps. Today on Limey News for American Chaps, we're going to talk about alcohol. So, maybe I should call it Limey Booze for American Chaps. As I speak, a New Zealand expedition team is on the South Pole trying to recover a couple of crates of whiskey that Sir Ernest Shackleton abandoned 100 years ago in 1909. The whiskey giant White & Mackay is trying to retrieve the 100-year-old whiskey because the brand itself that is trapped in the ice is extinct, and White & Mackay would like to reproduce it. According to international protocols set in place by the 12 Antarctic Treaty Nations, the bottles can only be taken out of the South Pole for reasons of conservation. Sure, guys, whatever excuse you need. Of course, this expedition is really about the Scottish guys at White & Mackay setting up for a joke about how far they would go for a good drink. And that's it for inane news from the British Isles. So remember, keep cool and don't touch that razor.